Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Here's John and Heidi.
Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Monday, August 1st. What the heck happened with July?
Yeah.
It seems like it was just the other day we had celebrations for Independence Day, and that's been like a whole month ago now. Kind of crazy. Coming up here in a moment, we've got some special things going on today. We'll talk about that. Later in the program, we're going to be visiting with Charles Foster. He's got a book called Being a Beast.
Okay.
And he pretended to be different animals and lived the way those animals lived and then wrote a book about it.
What?
So he lived in a beaver dam and stuff like that. Dug a hole in the ground and lived like a mole for a while. So he's got a book about that, Being a Beast. I'm actually looking forward to chatting with this guy. Local zoning dispute in Naugatuck, Connecticut has become, for some, a battle of good versus evil. The owner of a photo store put signs outside of the store passing motorists to beep for Christ. Owners of neighboring tattoo stores put a sign up urging motorists to honk twice for Satan. Yee.
Oh, my gosh.
Town officials responded by ordering both signs to be removed. So there you go. So they decided, hey, we're going to have this good versus evil battle and see. I wonder how many people were honking 3 or 4 times because they just wanted to honk. So I don't know. Crazy. That happened in Naugatuck, Connecticut. Coming up, we've got some special things to talk about for August 1st. We'll get to that in a bit.
John and Heidi.
Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
I thought you'd never ask. It's Monday, August the 1st. That means today is Girlfriend's Day. Today is also Lugnasa Day. I don't know what that is. It's Mead Day. It is National Minority Donor Awareness Day.
Minority donor?
Yeah, Minority Donor Awareness Day.
So if donate a minority?
No, if you're a minority,
Isn't that
you're
called
supposed
slavery?
No, if you're a minority, you're supposed to sign up to become a donor today. Yeah, does that make more sense?
A little bit.
Okay. It is also Respect for Parents Day. That should be every day, kids. It's also Rounds Resounding Day, Spider-Man Day, U.S. Air Force Day, World Lung Cancer Day, World Wide Web Day, and World Scout Scarf Day. Some of this I think they just put in to see if I could even say it. World Scout Scarf Day, Round Resounding Day. I don't even know what those things are. I'm going to celebrate with my girlfriend having respect for my parents.
Your girlfriend?
You're my girlfriend, and you're my wife.
All right.
See? Got you going for a second there. For a second, I thought she was going to respond with this World Scout Scarf Day and strangle me. Something like that. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Email marketing is affordable and a proven way to grow your business. If it's done right, you can stay in contact with your customers to let them know when you have new things to offer. You stay in control the whole time, too. You decide when messages are sent, and you decide what is being said. So you're constantly in control of your business image. You can do this, but don't try it on your own. Team up with one of the biggest names in email marketing, Constant Contact. Sign up for a free trial right now at radiosavings.com. Sign up now at radiosavings.com.
You know it's true because you heard it on the radio. When you make dinner reservations, you might want to avoid this restaurant, Chez Ventre.
I wouldn't go there anyway. It sounds pretentious.
It's in Paris Français. It's Chez Ventre, a trendy cafe that uses the stomachs of extremely overweight men as tables.
Ew, gross.
The couples sit cross-legged on either side
that is just
of a 350-pound man.
Disgusting. Who
lie on their backs with their bellies covered by tablecloths. The human tables have never caused food or drinks to be spilled. And, of course, Chez Ventre is not only proper to tip the waiter there, but you also tip the table as well.
Why would anybody want to do that?
I have no clue.
Why?
I don't understand.
I don't get it. Why? That does not sound nice at all.
The good news is they've got some guys there that were probably maybe looking for work. They found some jobs.
Gosh.
I'm a little too light to be a table there, thank goodness. But sadly, I could probably...
That's disgusting. That is absolutely disgusting.
I could probably be an appetizer table.
Then you have to make small talk with the big fat guy that's laying on the floor while you're trying to eat.
Hey, be nice.
That's disgusting.
So, well, it's weird. It's dumb. I don't know if disgusting is the right word.
It's absolutely disgusting.
Okay, well...
Gross.
So they're covered up with a tablecloth.
I don't care. I
Just trying to imagine what that place looks like.
Tonight, Taylor and I should try this on you. You just lay
go.
on the floor. We're going to eat supper. We're going to see what that experience would be like.
That sounds good. Do we have a big enough tablecloth?
So bizarre.
It is very bizarre. Again, this is happening at Chez Ventre in Paris, Francais, and it's CHEZVENTRE because, there's somebody trying to book reservations and they don't know how to spell it. So now you're set.
Wow.
And it's true because you heard it on the radio.
John and Heidi.
The John and Heidi Show is brought to you in part by the Keystone Treatment Center.
This is your brain, and this is your brain on drugs. We share silly stories here on the program, but addiction is no joke. If you or someone you know suffers with an addiction to drugs or alcohol, make today the day you seek help.
Call toll-free 844-204-1055.
That's a toll-free number. Again,
844-204-1055.
And this is your brain on drugs. Talk about a bad first day on the job. An officer squad car in Hobart, Indiana was nearly totaled in less than 30 minutes into his first day on the force.
Whoa.
Officer Tim Pokron was inside his home early Monday when somebody smashed into his new squad car parked outside. He was 29 minutes into the first day on his new job when a man drove his car into a tree and to Officer Pokron's parked car. The man tested positive for drugs and was arrested and taken into the hospital and into custody. The force of the collision bent the rear axle of the squad car. He spent the rest of his day filling out paperwork at the station. So he was
Welcome to the force.
Inside of his own home when this happened, 30 minutes after he was supposed to start. So was he late for work too?
Apparently.
Unless I read that story wrong, that seems a little weird. All right, kids, that's what happens when your brain is on drugs.
John and Heidi.
Now your moment of duh, and it includes a ticking package that explodes into today's moment of duh. A ticking alarm clock gave bomb squad police a wake-up call in Wichita, Kansas. Bomb squad was called to an apartment complex at 2 a.m. when neighbors heard something, quote-unquote, ticking inside of a mailbox.
That's not good.
No. They feared that maybe it was a bomb. Well, it turned out to be an alarm clock that was being sent to an apartment resident.
Oh,
So it was just an alarm clock, and it alarmed a lot of people.
I guess so.
I would say if you're going to be shipping an alarm clock that ticks, take the battery out, or if it's one that you wind up, let it wind down first.
Right.
That's just
to avoid some
Yeah,
confusion.
that's just a bad plan all around. I remember I wanted to have a bunch of clocks. I wanted 4 clocks in our studio. Remember this?
I remember this.
I was like, I want to have 4
It was a
clocks in here, so I
disaster.
have all of the, because I get a little map of the USA. I was like, it'd be cool to have all the time zones, except each one of them had a second hand, so it was tick, 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 tick,
Yeah.
tick, 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 tick.
And I was so mad at you because you had to have these stupid things. And you hung them up for like one day, and you're like, I don't want these.
I'm going to take these back.
So we had already paid for them.
Hey, we were able to return them, thank goodness. So it was a disaster. That was my moment of duh.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have listened to those clocks first. Coming up, we've got your scoop of the day. That's on the way.
The Scoop of the Day is brought to you by Wells Blue Bunny. If you want delicious ice cream, be sure to look for the Blue Bunny. Sure to have your favorite flavors. Learn more at bluebunny.com.
Now your scoop of the day. California is set to vote in November on legalizing marijuana for recreational use. Yeah, like they haven't been doing that already. There are more than 1,000 chemicals in a cup of coffee. Of these, less than 100 have been tested, and about 14 chemicals so far have caused cancer in rats. So they're saying maybe you shouldn't be drinking so much coffee. As I just finished a giant cup of coffee. Los Angeles City Council has voted to crack down on costume comic book characters on the street of Los Angeles. I just didn't know if I'd make it through that because there was a lot of tongue-twisting stuff. Costumed comic book characters.
Why? What is the problem?
They're having a lot of problems because a lot of these people are, they're, I don't want to say they're beggars, but what are they?
They stand there and they
get
want
money.
you to pay
Yeah,
for pictures.
and there's problems because people are getting into fights with each other.
Ah.
So, there you go. Christianity is growing fast and so noisily in parts of Nigeria that the authorities have actually been called to shut down churches to get some more peace and quiet for local residents. And it's not just churches. Mosques, too, are being closed in a clampdown on noise pollution. These places of worship are being sacrificed as part of a plan to make Laos free of noise pollution. Many Nigerian churches they're in enormous buildings that are soundproof. The churches are being shut down. However, they're generally having their meetings in makeshift buildings where there's been little attempt to make the soundproofing of the buildings and services. So that's where they're having some issues. So I don't exactly understand what they could do, because they were in soundproof buildings that they kicked them out of, and now they're not in soundproof buildings, and they don't want them there either. I think it's more of an attack on religion. They just don't want that. I don't think it has anything to do with the noise. Pokemon Go has been in the news still. I thought for sure this would be done by now.
Right. This is ridiculous.
There's a story here, and I don't know if there's any truth to this, but I guess I'll read what it says. It says, Donald Trump has been busy on the campaign trail, but he recently admitted that he wishes he had time to play Pokemon Go. I think he was just saying, I'm busy. I don't think he really wants to.
I think he was pandering to the crowd.
Well, I don't even think that. I think when they were saying, hey, have you played Pokemon Go? I think he was like, I wish I had time to play games, Because I've had people ask about things, and I've said that kind of thing. Like, yeah, I wish I had time to play Candy Crush. I don't really. But you play that.
I do like
But a New Jersey woman got stuck in a tree at a cemetery. We talked about that. Well, she was playing Pokemon Go on her smartphone. This is ridiculous. All right. Studies suggest that the children of older fathers have lower IQs than those of younger fathers. So the older your dad was at the time that you were conceived, the dumber you could be. No, the smarter you could be.
Huh.
Or was it the dumber? I just deleted it. So
I don't know.
Here it is. Studies suggest children of older fathers have lower IQs. Yeah, so the older dad gets, the dumber you are, according to this. So much for the whole smartest kid being the one born last, Jamie. Beautiful people don't just get all the breaks. Scientists say it's pretty likely they're smarter than most people, too. A study in England conducted by researchers at a London School of Economics found that attractive men and women generally have higher IQs. The study indicated attractive men have an IQ that is 13.6 points above average, while beautiful women are 11.4% higher than average. Lead researcher Sayochi Kanauza, I probably didn't say that right, insists this should not be considered justification for believing beautiful people are better than everyone else. She says, our contention that beautiful people are more intelligent is purely scientific. End quote. So she's saying, okay, they're more beautiful. Okay, they're smarter. But they ain't better than the rest of us dumb, ugly people. So there. All right. It's going to do it for your scoop of the day. I don't think she has a very good point going there. You guys are the ones that came out with this. So don't try to backtrack now. All right. Thanks for listening. We've got a special guest coming your way in just a bit on the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Whether you're following the election or not, you understand that it impacts you. And this will be a historic election. The mainstream media has their own spin on who's going to win, but PoliticalStorm.com lets you chime in. You can keep yelling at the TV if you want. See how that works out. Or truly voice your opinion and have it heard at PoliticalStorm.com. Be informed from several different sources all in one place. Watch videos, listen to podcasts like mine, and read fun editorials to engage your brain. You have a choice, and now you have a voice, too, at PoliticalStorm.com. That's PoliticalStorm.com.
John and Heidi.
Thank you for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Monday. We've got a special guest joining us today. We have Charles Foster, and Charles is a very interesting guy because he's not only is he an author, which we're going to talk about, but he's a renowned expert on animals and nature, has a PhD in law and bioethics. He's a veterinarian, and he teaches medical law and ethics at the University of Oxford. And if that wasn't enough to keep him busy, he's got a new book out as well. So first of all, let's just say hello to Mr. Charles Foster. How are you, sir?
Great, thank you. Nice to join you.
I'm excited to visit with you. It sounds like a whole lot of fun. This new book, Being a Beast, Adventures Across the Species Divide. First of all, how long did it take to put a book like this together?
A whole lifetime, John. So I've been thinking about the questions which this book raises since I was a kid. And the book is a sort of patchwork of bits and pieces stitched together from lots of different parts of my life over many, many, many years.
Now, let's talk for a moment about your background as a veterinarian and a scholar and a writer. First of all, what got you interested in animals in the first place as a child?
When I was a kid, I was interested in how animals worked, like lots of kids are. And my way of finding out how animals work was like lots of kids to take them apart. So I used to scrape roadkill off the road and dissect, and I used to do taxidermy. My parents banished me because of the smell to a shed at the bottom of the garden. I used to spend my pocket money on glass eyes and formaldehyde. And that morphed into a real scientific interest in anatomy, and as you say, I later became a veterinarian. But I've always been more interested in the questions which were raised by just watching how the animals all around me lived. So there was a blackbird in our back garden, our suburban garden, and it looked at me with its yellow eye, with its black pupil. It plainly knew something about that suburban garden that I didn't know, even though I thought I knew the garden very well. And that seeded in me a question which I've been interested in ever since, which is, can we know anything about the world that anything or anyone sees? So did I know what that blackbird was seeing? Do you know anything really about what your friends or your wife or your husband are seeing, perceiving of the world? And my wild and woolly experiment, which is recounted in this book, is really just an extreme way of trying to answer that question. Can I know anything about the worlds which are occupied by non-human species? In the case of the book, badgers in the woodlands of Wales, urban foxes rummaging through the trash cans at the East End of London, otters swimming the rivers of Devon, red deer in the northwest Highlands of Scotland and also down in Devon, and swifts in the skies between Oxford, where I'm speaking to you from, and West Africa.
Now, I'm looking at the information here. It says, as you were preparing to write this book, you started to kind of live like the animals, if you will, and learn their perspective, including living alongside badgers for a week, sleeping in a set, and eating earthworms. That's got to be quite an interesting experience.
Well, I mean, to be clear, I wasn't really living with badgers. I wasn't snuggling up beside them. What happened was that I took a train to mid-Wales. My mate Bert, who farms down there, scraped a hole in the hillside, and I made my own badger set and lived in there for a while. I think I probably spent about 6 weeks or so underground, if you put it all end to end. And yes, I tried by this rather extreme method of method acting, if you want to think of it that way, to try to enter the badger's world. I tried to condition my nose before I went out into the woods to try to become a more olfactory creature. But you can learn quite a lot simply by dropping that 6 feet and 30 million years down onto the forest floor, where, because the vegetation is so thick, your eyes won't help you very much at all, and you've got to use your nose. So I tried to reconstruct a scent landscape, because that's the landscape that the badger lives in. We normally just see things and neglect all the other senses with which we can perceive the world. What a terrible waste that is. So I was trying to pay attention in my look at all of these animals to the at least 5 senses that we've got, rather than the one vision that we normally use.
Now, in addition to living like badgers, you were also swimming like an otter and catching fish with your teeth and rooting through garbage cans like an urban fox in London. And you're even hunted by bloodhounds like a red deer. Has anybody ever told you might be a little bit crazy?
When I start talking about this project, most people's first response is, you're weird, you ought to be in a secure unit somewhere. And as I continue to talk about it, most people begin to take it seriously. Most people realize at some level that we are dangerously alienated from the natural world, that we need to restore our relationships with the natural world in order to be healthy, functioning human beings. Most people realize, too, when I start talking about this, that all that I was doing in these experiments was something that human children do all the time. You look at your children, playing out in the yard. They are on all fours, just like a badger. It's with their nose to the ground. They haven't forgotten, like we as big, besooted adults have forgotten how to smell. They haven't forgotten how to listen. And their hands are on the ground, feeling it in a way which we never, ever do, because we only feel it through a shoe sole, which is a great shame. And when we were kids, the experiences which I had in that wood were to a penny. people begin by raising their eyebrows when I write in the book about how I took one of my sons into the wood with me when I was being a badger. When I say to my son, who came with me, that people think that's strange, he just doesn't understand it. Because isn't that what kids do all the time? It's true that the main tutors in what I was doing here were my children, who have forgotten so much less than I've forgotten about how to relate to the wild world, of which we are all a part, whether we acknowledge it or not.
And Charles, one of the nice things is if there are people listening that are saying, I always wondered what it would be like to do that, I guess they could go do it themselves if they really wanted to, or they could just say, you know what, I'm going to read his book instead. Then they don't have to go live like the animals.
Well, they can do that, and I hope, of course, they do, but I hope that it will encourage people to switch on these senses which lie dormant in us all. I hope that it will encourage people when they're walking down their city street, which is just a part of the wilderness. It's only a relatively unwild place, as David Abraham said. I hope it will encourage them to use their noses, to use the senses, not to be as dismally unsensual as we normally are in most of our workaday lives.
Again, I appreciate you taking time to chat with us. The name of the book is Being a Beast, Adventures Across the Species Divide. Where can we find copies of this book?
Well, I hope you can find it in all bookshops. If you can't, you can certainly find it on most of the book websites, including Amazon.
Again, I appreciate you taking the time to chat with us and just visiting with you about this and what I've had a chance to read here. It sounds like you had a pretty darn good time doing this experiment as well.
Fantastic fun. Wouldn't have done it if I hadn't had fun.
Hopefully it will encourage other people to get out and have some fun as well. Now, Charles, which of the things that you did when you were living like the animals, which one would you say was the very best experience for you personally?
Well, the best one and the most fun one was being a badger, because it was with my son and it was a bonding experience. We had a wonderful time, just wild camping, I guess. And the otter was fun as well. It was in a place that I love, down on Exmoor, where we always go as a family. It was a wonderful romp.
Well, very cool. Thank you again for taking time to chat with us.
Great to speak to you. Thank you.
Again, our guest today is Charles Foster. He's written on many, many different topics, but his new book is called Being a Beast, Adventures Across the Species Divide, and his website is charlesfoster.co.uk. Thank you for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Monday.
John and Heidi.
This is Richard Lustig, the world's first and only 7-time lottery game grand prize winner. Since I endorsed Lottolicious, I have won something every single draw. They do all the work. You don't have to worry about running to the store to buy your tickets. They take care of all that. So if you're looking for the best way to play the lottery, to give yourself the best chance of winning, go to RadioLottoPool.com and join today. Again, that website is RadioLottoPool.com.
John and Heidi.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
The sci-fi TV series Lost in Space was on TV in 1965. That's when it premiered. Guess what year it supposedly took place in? 1997.
Really?
So they thought by 97 we would have already been lost in space.
Wow.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
The Wizard of Oz was a Broadway musical 34 years before MGM made a movie of it. Had 293 performances, then went on tour, and that lasted 9 years. So it was a success before it ever hit the big screen. Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Our eyes are always the same size from birth all the way up until we're as old as you could possibly be. Your eyes never grow.
Oh.
Our noses and our ears never stop growing.
I knew that.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
The Statue of Liberty tablet is 2 feet thick. The tablet that she's holding?
Oh, wow.
2 feet thick. And our final fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
The slogan on the New Hampshire license plate is "Live free or die." Ironically, these plates are being made by people in prison who are not free. They're in the Concord prison. So there you go. A couple of fun facts for you on a Monday.
John and Heidi.
Email marketing is affordable and a proven way to grow your business. If it's done right, you can stay in contact with your customers to let them know when you have new things to offer. You stay in control the whole time, too. You decide when messages are sent, and you decide what is being said. So you're constantly in control of your business image. You can do this, but don't try it on your own. Team up with one of the biggest names in email marketing, Constant Contact. Sign up for a free trial right now at radiosavings.com. Sign up now at radiosavings.com.
John
Thank you for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Monday. Hey, if your face has a little pimple here and there, that's okay, because it seems like there's a lot of people that have that. It's estimated that 80% of all people between the ages of 11 and 30 have what some would call a skin problem, and there is no cure. Pimples form when your tiny hair follicles get clogged, blocking the normal exit pathway for oil to escape the surface of the skin. Cosmetics and drugs such as lithium and genetics also contribute to the problem. Contrary to popular belief, scrubbing them can actually make things worse. That's always what you hear. Wash your face, clean it up. Remember that?
Yeah, you got to wash your face.
They say that can actually contribute to the problem. Says here, experts found that cleaning twice a day is probably the best. Go ahead and have a candy bar or a greasy burger. Researchers found that diet has very little to do with acne. They found that drinking milk may be a problem as well, but they're not sure. Drinking lots of water somehow doesn't help. Ingredients in over-the-counter soaps and lotions that contain benzoyl peroxide and salicylic acid and sulfur can help, and dermatologists can prescribe antibiotics, although there is, quote-unquote, no miracle cure. However, don't pick at them. Yeah, Mom is right about that one, because you'll almost always make it worse. So there you go. I was not good at the whole just leaving it alone thing. I'm like, I'm going to poke at it.
You're still not good at leaving things alone.
I know.
I'm constantly telling you, quit picking at that.
Yeah, I had something on my head. I'm scratching at it. I'm like, what? Starts out with like a tiny little thing. And next thing you know, like the whole, looked like the elephant man. I'm all swelled up. I'm like, I have no idea what happened. I clearly was infected or something. I don't know. So they're saying leave that stuff alone, and there you go. Interesting stuff about pimples and zits. It's a great thing to talk about on a Monday. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
If you're in business, you need a website. Come on, it's 2016. Do you think this internet thing is not going to catch on? Many business owners that don't have a website think it's just too expensive. Well, now it's not. You can get a website for a few $100s, not thousands of dollars that are charged elsewhere. We can help you set up and design the site and then turn you loose to manage it, or we can help you manage the site for just a tiny bit more. Learn about this special radio offer right now at radiosavings.com. Get an extra $50 off if you sign up this month at radiosavings.com.
Comfortable seats at a ball game are a good thing, but only if the seats are facing in the right direction, right? And England Baseball Stadium is having some difficulties with this very important fact. Contractors working on a stadium in England, they apparently don't know much about sports. They put in a bunch of seats, and they were looking the wrong way. After the first 6 were installed, somebody noticed that they're all facing the parking lot instead of the inner part of the stadium. Good news is that they discovered the problem before any of the teams that play there had to play. Can you imagine going to the ball field
everybody's
and then
backs are to you,
fold open the seat, and you're like, what am I supposed to do with this thing? That's not going to work. So there you go. Interesting stuff. And I guess that's a kind of thing that happens when you're not a sports fan. But you'd think even if you're not a sports fan,
you should know where it's going to take place.
And you'd think you'd know how seats work, but you just never know. Coming up, there's no business like shoe business. We're going to get into that in a bit.
John and Heidi.
Needing brake shoes is one thing, but using your shoes as brakes is something entirely different. This is like right out of the pages of the Flintstones. An airport worker stopped a jet from crossing a busy road in Israel after the brakes failed by slamming his shoe under the wheels. Wisely, his foot was not in the shoe at the time. Mikhailov Abraj averted a very potential disaster by using his shoe to stop a 100-ton Lithuanian airline Boeing 737 jet. There were 130 people on board at Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion Airport. Abraj yelled to the pilot in Russian to step on the brakes, but the driver yelled back, "The brakes are not working." That's when Abraj took off his shoe, jammed it under the wheel to help the plane stop.
Oh.
So that is kind of crazy that you'd even,
think to do that. That's cool.
They should maybe have some other device.
He should get an award of some kind, because that was thinking outside the box.
Yeah,
right there.
But they should have some kind of device in place where you don't have to take off your shoe and use that to stop airplanes. I mean, something would be a good plan. All right, coming up, we've got some special news, and then we got some good news before you get to the end of the program. It's all on the way on this Monday.
John and Heidi.
Whether you're following the election or not, you understand that it impacts you, and this will be a historic election. The mainstream media has their own spin on who's going to win, but PoliticalStorm.com lets you chime in. You can keep yelling at the TV if you want, see how that works out, or truly voice your opinion and have it heard at PoliticalStorm.com. Be informed from several different sources all in one place. Watch videos, listen to podcasts like mine, and read fun editorials to engage your brain. You have a choice, and now you have a voice too at PoliticalStorm.com. That's PoliticalStorm.com.
John and Heidi.
Thank you for listening to the John and Heidi Show. It will be no surprise whatsoever to many of our listeners that I am not college educated. I can barely read some of the stories I get. If there's any sort of name in there, I don't even try it anymore. I just wing it, and then I say, I'm probably wrong. But some Malaysian colleges may soon offer courses on how to keep a public restroom clean.
Really?
Yeah, this is seriously a thing.
That's a problem there?
Apparently. Again, this is where I'm going, okay, now I don't feel so bad. And I've never once said I wish I had a college degree. Doesn't matter to me.
Right.
I'm doing what I want to do. I'm not going to say necessarily what I'm good at because you guys can be the judge of that. But I certainly like what I do, and I hope others do too. But I've never once said, I really wish that. I do say I wish that I would have served our country in the military.
Yeah.
That's something I do. But back to this whole college thing. Government officials in Malaysia say the courses would involve managing washrooms by the highest standards in design and sanitation technology. Malaysia's government recently said that they wanted to start a, quote, toilet revolution, end quote, in a country where public restrooms have long nauseated citizens and even more tourists.
Huh.
Citizens are used to it. Tourists are not. But they have a lack of basic items like toilet paper, soap, and even sometimes no toilet seats.
Oh.
Yeah. So they're now working on a college course on how to keep a public restroom clean.
Well.
Do you really need a college course for this? This is not rocket science.
Must not be a very clean area. I mean, just, maybe they just don't know those things.
Hang on a second here. I'm going to just cross something off my list of places to go. Malaysia, not going to go there. All right. Got that taken care of. We do have some good news on the way. Thanks for listening to The John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
This portion of The John and Heidi Show is brought to you by The John and Heidi Show. That sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Go to your local radio station and ask them to start carrying The John and Heidi Show. Here's the best part. They can carry the show for free. They play a couple commercials, but it doesn't cost them anything every month. So if you know a radio station that could use a little bit of help, send them our way. Send them to johnandheidishow.com. Again, johnandheidishow.com. We would love to do a radio program in your community. Then you could listen to the podcast and listen to us on the radio.
John and Heidi.
Always try to wrap things up with good news, and I think this is good news. I just think this is really sweet and touching news. If only till death do we part worked this way for everybody. Take a listen to this. It reminds me of a movie, and Heidi will even tell you which one. After 58 years of marriage, a San Antonio, Texas couple died side by side while holding hands. According to People magazine, George and Oralee Rodriguez reportedly met in San Antonio when George was working as a butcher at a local meat market. They married after George completed his time in the military, and they had 3 children. The couple were both diagnosed with dementia, which continued to progress, and George recently had a stroke. Less than a week after their 58th wedding anniversary, George died in his sleep, followed by his wife, Oralee, just 3 hours later. So they fell asleep and just kind of stayed asleep. That's kind of cool. What movie does that remind me of?
Oh, yeah, The Notebook.
Yeah, because that happened in that. Now, if you're a big fan of the movie, you know what I'm talking about. And if you've never seen it before, I probably just ruined the ending for you. So. But hey, if you haven't seen it by now, you had that coming. But I really did like that movie. And I got to say, the funny thing is, I did not want to go to that movie. Do you remember this?
I didn't either. Somebody drugged me.
Krista.
Yeah, Krista.
Our friend Krista. She said, we got to go to this. And I was like, you guys, I'll drop you off there. I don't want to go. She goes, no, you should come. This will be good. And it was me, and it was Heidi, and it was 250 other women. I was literally the only man in the theater. I was crying more than anyone else, though.
He was. Oh,
well,
my
it just
gosh.
really
I
struck a
looking
chord.
at him. I'm like, what is going on?
Well, it struck a chord with me because my grandmother had Alzheimer's. So when I was a kid, I remember talking to her and her thinking I was someone else. And, so that movie, when that's what the subject matter of the movie The Notebook is about, really just struck a chord with me. And it was a neat story. And I know that's a fake story. It's what's the guy's name? Nicholas Sparks.
Nicholas Sparks.
So there's always a twist and all that stuff, but it was just neat. And this is kind of a story. This is a real story of George and Oralee. They passed away after 58 years of wedded bliss. Died in each other's arms while sleeping. I just think that's kind of cool. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. If you want to read that story, I have it at facebook.com/John and Heidi Show.